Welcome to Agility Lab. My name is Morten Elvang. And those of you who have been here before know that we have a special series ongoing, which we have nicknamed the State of Agile. So we have been inviting various people to share their view on what's going on with Agile and what are the trends we can observe at the moment. So Leise, it's a real pleasure to have you here today. You are one of the persons who have been onto the Agile topic early on in the Danish environment and also internationally. So really looking forward to what you have prepared for us. Anything you want us to know before we get started?
No, not really. This is recorded, as you know. So feel free, and by the way, feel free to leave the meeting and not get back anything. I will not be offended. It is recorded. You can watch it afterwards.
Very well. So let's get started.
Yeah, let me start sharing my screen. Yeah, it should be good now. I will.
It's good.
I will not be able to see you because then I will not be able to see my slides as much as I like. So if any of you do something, Morten will be our host to let me know. Well, questions. We have a Q&A in about half an hour or so. You're welcome to write questions or whatever you like in the chat, but preferably we'll do the Q&A at the end, unless Morten says, "Hey, this is a really interesting question for this and that." Then I'm fine with just interrupting. But thank you for the invitation to be one of the many presenters of the State of Agile in Agility Lab last year and now 2026. So this is my first presentation this year, and I'm really been looking forward to giving my thoughts about Agile and where we are. I have been trying not for a couple of years not to use the word Agile in my book and whatever I do, because it has not been that necessary. But today it will be about that. So let's get started. The subjects I'll cover today, maybe not in this sequence, but I will actually take you down the Agile memory lane and tell you about a few of the problems that I have seen over the years, 25 years. I go there back that far. And I will maybe talk a little about whether Agile is a bumblebee or not. I will for sure tell you my version of the truth. And it is not, of course, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, but my viewpoints on things. I do have a suggestion for what to do about whatever is the problem or problems. And if we have time, I have a slide about Agile and AI. I can easily skip that. And then we have the Q&A. So approximately 30 minutes, or maybe a little more. Let's see about that. Now I'm doing on the picture that I'm doing kind of like that with my fingers because it's hard. I cannot, of course, cover nearly as much as would maybe be nice in half an hour. But let me do it focused. So what I want to convey to you today is that the problem or problems with Agile never stem from bad teams, lazy teams, or incompetent colleagues, or anything like it. So that is my main message today. And if this is not what you want to hear about, then you are, of course, excused. But most problems that I see are caused by conflicts due to different expectations from management, from teams, and then the system around them, what I called the inside of the hierarchical command and control organization. And basically all problems that I have seen, and I'll get back to that over my many years, in this kind of environment actually goes back to that root cause. So I took the opportunity today to really focus what is very close to my heart. So this is a rich slide, and I will not kind of walk you through everything, just give you show some of the highlights, the way I see it from 1993, where some Scrum teams were actually running, I was told by one of my mentors, and where we can actually, I'm of course stopping in 2026, where I have actually published my own book a couple of years ago. But I want to tell you my story is a bit different than most others that we have been listening to, and agile coaches and so forth, because you see actually very little Scrum-ish on this slide, and that's because I chose to take another route. If we start by 2002, I actually did buy the first book that was published on Scrum. Mike Beadle was one of them, and Ken Swaber. They co-authored it. So that was my first Agile Bible or Scrum Bible. But then I found, you can see in 2003, Ole Jepsen formed the Danish Agile User Group. And I was very interested in following the Pop Index, the Alistair Coburn and whatever he was writing about, and actually James Copeland. And then we had the Scrum Guide in 2010. I had no idea. I really did not focus on it because I didn't need to, because this is just a small abstract of the many books I read and actually learned from. But actually, eventually in 2019, I learned about a Scrum book, which had been on its way for 10 years, but I had not really noticed those patterns. And then I went back, and I also became a Scrum trainer myself, etc. But it was fun for me to make this slide, because sometimes, very often, the last 5-10 years, I have wondered why I saw so many problems in the agile ways of working. And I realized that quite few people had actually read the same elementary books that I had done, because it's very elementary. I mean, don't they know about lean software development, etc., etc. So there is a natural explanation for that. Just for those of you who don't know me, now since 2018, I've been an independent consultant in my own company, Agile, and I have a master in computer science, so IT and management is actually my background. So I wanted to highlight a few of the movements or moments or trends and problem areas again during the last how many years of this timeline. And actually, until around 2001, 2002, there were very high focus on the person, one person at a time, and we should develop the personal development, and we should be efficient as persons, etc. And then we actually had the Agile Manifesto came out in 2001, and after that we were talking much more now about team efficiency in general, not only in the Agile world. In the beginning of this timeline, we had the learning organization. That is really, I had got my first manager's job at this time. So Peter Senji and so forth, that occupied me really a lot. Team efficiency is still, of course, very, very we are concerned with that as well. But around a few years after the Agile Manifesto, we actually saw a lot of stress in our employees and in the teams. And then eventually, again, remember, this is how I experienced and how I saw it. Suddenly, also, we heard about our managers were very stressed, and that's a whole different story. But around 2001, I was very focused on the communication side of instead of IT technical stuff and so forth. So I became an NLP coach and an Enneagram master, stuff that people who became agile coaches over the time. They took courses in that. I said, oh, I need to learn about that. But actually I found out, okay, this is the stuff that I actually I learned about down here. The last many years, it has been very, very trendy to call oneself a servant leader. I don't think I ever really found out what it means, because when everybody says I'm a servant leader, then it's kind of okay. Then what? But that is a focus area as well. Here are some of the problems. I think many of you who are here today will actually know that in the beginning, our agile teams would say, "Shh, we are experimenting. Don't tell anybody, and don't tell our managers that we are doing this stuff." Huge problem. It took around 10 years for agile to really catch. And then suddenly every CEO said, "Hey, we're an agile company." And I said, "What the hell just happened? Because how can they say they're just agile without being it?" But that was the trend at that time. Everybody had to be agile. Actually, this is a fact that the organizational productivity for the last 30, maybe 40 years have actually gone down. That's not just something I say, that's something that economists actually measure. So even though we had all this, hey, hype, the agile is very efficient, blah, 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 the organizational productivity actually declined. Right now, and for the last couple of years, management are saying, I'm generalizing now, but no more agile bullshit. And that is that is one of the issues that agile coaches and agile people are experiencing right now. And the next is that the generative AI and ChatGPT, they will save our asses in the future. I'm just saying, let's see about that. But it's a fact. It is here. So as I said in the beginning, the real problem is not agile or agile teams. So when management says no more agile bullshit, I'm actually replying back, I don't want to see more organizational bullshit. And since you know the topic of my talk here, it does not come as a surprise. Yesterday I googled organizational diagram, and this is of course what we still see. This is from my book, a 200 years old diagram. This is still how it looks, hopelessly outdated. And then let's do like that. Some managers, actually very, very good middle managers, said, hey, let's turn our diagram upside down, because we want to illustrate that our people are most important of all. And this is even more organizational bullshit. I worked in those companies, nothing changed at all, but the managers really thought it helped on something. It really did not. I hope you noticed that I just flipped it. That was the intention anyways. So, and how can I tell who am I to actually to postulate all this? I have been a leader for more than 30 years. I've been in business for 45, also being a software developer and so. And now is actually the time for me to tell the truth. Having been a manager, and I've done all the mistakes that everybody else, I think I can, if I don't tell the truth, who else would do? And by telling the truth, I also get fired now and then. Actually, one time I was fired because I told the truth. If we have time, I can tell the story. So I do have some experience to share from today. So quite many people have asked on LinkedIn the last year or two, is Agile dead? And I don't have the answer to that. Well, I do. I don't think Agile is dead, but I did give you a teaser in the invitation because I came to think of, hey, is Agile really the bumblebee who's just about to learn to fly? So I gave it a little more thought, and I wanted, and just a few mentioning about why, or the way I see it here, because the Agile Manifesto was actually created based on stuff that had already proven its worth. Right? We had at that time. We had actually a software crisis. The waterfall projects had been running for years, but they did not include iterations, although it had been recommended. You know how it was: huge delays, bad products, etc., etc. So I was wondering, those good people, the managers, they're good people. How can they actually claim nowadays that Agile has not delivered on its promise? Is it really because Agile is just about to learn to fly? And no, of course it's not. The bumblebee has always been able to fly. Nobody needed to teach it how to do. And like the bumblebee could already fly, nobody needed to teach it anything. The knowledge, getting back to the cabin in the mountains of Utah, the knowledge in that room with those 17 men, no women, they were actually working. Let's see, the knowledge that they shared was knowledge that they knew based on their experience was working well in the industry. So they got together and said, okay, so what are you doing that works well? What are you doing? What are you doing? And as you know, the result was the Agile Manifesto. But the way I see it, it was concerned only or basically with the teams. Primarily with the teams, and that is one of the big problems. Again, the way I see it, and managers at that time said, "Oh, this is just a fad; it will go away." It took about 10 years before then they realized that no, it did not go away. And then they started thinking, "Okay, what will happen to us?" Because teams are supposed to be self-organized, and they started getting afraid. That is at least my interpretation. There was one person in that cabin who, for reasons I don't know, who it would have been interesting if James Copeland had been in that cabin, and I will tell you why. Because he is one of the few persons that have focused on Agile at the organizational level. So already here in '94, at conferences, he was talking about organizational patterns. The book was published in 2005, and I just wanted to tell you that he was the product owner of this Scrum book containing the Scrum patterns that does not have quite many organizational patterns. But there was a pattern person actually, and for many years, who was not in that cabin with that crowd of other men, and maybe not, it actually did a difference. So back to what will happen to us, the managers' fear. Again, I was a manager myself, and I know how it is to feel or fear that we're getting redundant here. But until somebody thought, hey, all this Agile stuff, we need some governance here because we feel out of control. I'm not saying they got control by doing a lot of governance, but at least that is the thinking at that time. Some of the consequences of that was that as I say, fortunately for those managers that were afraid here of their losing their jobs, is that when suddenly it was claimed that, hey, now we are Agile, it was time for them to scale, or maybe they had already scaled, and now we're talking software development. But what I saw was that scaling was often done by coercing, forcing Agile and Scrum teams coercing teams to do Agile or Scrum. Departments were renamed to trains or similar types of so-called Agile units. Managers became business owners or product managers or product owners. Project managers. I was also Agile project manager, and we became train leads or whatever that it was called. It's so weird. If a person claimed to be, now I'm a servant leader, even they were just managers, everything seemed to be okay or Agile, and I never really, as I said, understood why. But to tell you the truth, again, according to my view, there was less need for middle managers in an Agile setup. Craig Lauman has said it very clearly. We don't know what to do with managers. And executives did not really challenge the traditional hierarchy, the org diagram. So they paved a way to keep the final decisions right at the top. This is not the whole truth, but again, that was a trend by appointing the previous managers to now become business owners, etc., etc. So they could still take the final decisions. As I said before, middle managers felt insecure and not in control. And what I saw, and many of us saw, that they started demanding lots of reporting from Agile teams. And this, the idea with Scrums, self-organizing teams, it remained a dream because to some point they could take their own decisions. The first couple of years when they were hiding from the they didn't want to tell that they were doing Agile, but in my experience, it never really flied. And how do I know this? I was called upon when things went wrong or simply didn't work. For some reason, that many of my assignments also, when I was had got my own company as an independent consulting. That is what I experienced. So what had gone wrong? What I saw to a large extent was the big five, the big consulting companies were very often just flown in. They prescribed and forced teams to Scrum or SAFe their way, my way, their way, or the highway. And Agile became a money machine, lots of certifications. Everything Agile actually commercialized. Again, that is how I see it. And unfortunately, I saw a lot of inexperienced Agile coaches, very often from these big fives that were flowing in. Only a few managers were trained. That was really not good. Some learned about SAFe, but in the beginning, they didn't really want to. And I had helped teams that did not really understand why on earth do we have to do all this, because it makes no sense for us. Lots of teams, it makes sense to do iterations, but many teams simply couldn't. They never found out. So I helped them to find other ways that make sense to them. There were other Kanban could be one way of doing, and simply going back to how they did things the old way. And very important. I got to learn Daniel Messick, who actually wrote this Inviting Leadership in 2018, and I adapted this. I adopted this approach of doing everything by invitation. So since that day, I have never forced anybody to do anything. Also, what had gone wrong, whole departments were turned into trains or larger Agile organizations, and people did what they had always done. I mean, a lot of Agile teams did not do, but when things got wrong, they had just continued doing what they had been doing for years. And it was disguised through Agile ceremonies. Unfortunately, that is some of the truth. Actually, once I changed a planned small art, a SAFe art, into a network of teams, and everybody were happy. They were very sorry to have to be a team, so that it worked well for them. once I split one completely demotivated team. I think there were 15 people. They were extremely demotivated, and I had no idea why. I said, okay, they were in the wrong teams, they claimed. So I asked them to self-select, and the manager agreed, yeah, this is a good idea. And after 30 minutes, we had 2 very, very happy Agile teams. Unfortunately, that manager got laid off because the company did not really want that to continue. Maybe there were other reasons as well, but that was really sad. So again, these problems never occurred due to the bad teams, lazy or incompetent colleagues, or similar. It was due to the organization, the way that was set up, the traditional way to actually organize. And again, remember, no managers had bad intentions or bad people or bad managers or anything. Everybody did what they thought were right, and there were good reasons for them to do. So if it is so that Agile is in big trouble, why not consider this? Should we increase Agile training to teams? Train. They need to know more, or write more books on Agile tooling. Maybe AI tools hire more managers to control them, or maybe abandon Agile. And maybe we could also let AI agents take over in the Agile teams. Yeah, I'm not so sure. But funnily enough, 3 days ago, I saw this on LinkedIn from Jeff Sutherland, the co-creator of Scrum. And he said, he wrote here, the majority of Scrum teams are late, over budget, with unhappy customers, according to decades of research. Apparently, according to the Standish Group of millions on projects. And it's only getting worse. So I am wondering, is this really the state of Scrum? When Jeff says so, maybe that is the truth. And then he continues, these failing teams are being replaced with AI now, and the Fibonacci is a useful tool for hybrid human AI teams. Okay, I think he's referring to planning poker here. I really should ask him, what does all this mean? Do you really mean that this is the state of Scrum? I do not say Agile, but I say this is the state of Scrum here. Just think about this. And then when preparing those slides, I actually, by coincidence, saw that James Copeland, had given one of his many keynotes in Tokyo, at Scrum Tokyo. It's only 4 months ago. And I kind of, I was about to change my glasses when one slide said like this, Agile got it all wrong. And then he said, okay, Scrum got it right. And Scrum, Agile, and Lean are very different. Yes, I think we all understand that. And Agile comes from Scrum, and Scrum does not come from Agile. Okay, so it was a keynote on 1.5 hours. I only watched it once. I want to watch it again to find out, is this really what he means, or what? His presentations or keynotes, they are very, very deep. So I would invite you to maybe check that out as well. So is this the state of Agile? Maybe and maybe not, I have to say. And who is Cope to actually to claim all this? He is actually, I'm not sure how many people knows him at the end of the day, but he is a thought leader. He's a pioneering in organizational patterns, as I also mentioned. He has been setting industry standards and given a lot of talks for the last 40 years at conferences. And he's a teacher and educator, and then he's a scientist. So I actually looked up ChatGPT, where it was mentioned that he has left an incredible mark on the software industry, and I very much agree on that. So maybe he's right, maybe he's not, saying that Agile got it all wrong. And this is why I came to think of, what if he had been in that cabin with the other 17 men and no women? Would we be maybe in deep shit. Anyways, I don't know about that. So maybe instead of considering what I just said before, maybe we should first consider modernizing the organizational setup. That is my invitation. So I suggest we first modernize the organizational setup by introducing, for example, networks of teams or a networked organization, whatever we want to call it. And then our managers will find their new roles in this self-managed setup with the self-managed teams. This is where we lead together, co-leadership, we could call it that. And leadership is something that emerges because everyone is a leader. And then, this is actually something I've got from Cesario, who just wrote the Creating Agile Organization. He says, make sure to now optimize for adaptability. And I very much agree with him. And I want to add, we should also optimize to become a regenerative ecosystem in the future. So if we would go back to Cope's very, it's old, but it's patterns on organizational software, agile software development. If people would go back to that book, I can tell you that almost all problems I had in my own agile teams, I could find solutions or suggestions for how to solve it in this book. So what about giving this a revival? And actually, I invite people to actually also read Cesario's book. Cope was a tough reviewer of that. I reviewed it myself, by the way. It's a very good book, very much focusing on how to reorganize, not sticking to these hierarchies anymore. And I will invite you guys to then do the explicitly focus on the networked organization. Then we will have organizations with no authority hierarchy, no useless bureaucracy, no coercion. We don't force anybody to do anything. Everybody commit to their promises. We will have solid boundaries, natural emerging leadership, and this generative adaptive strategy that Morten is talking a lot about here in Agility Lab lately. So that is my invitation to you guys. And Morten, would you like me to show one more slide on AI, or should we stop here? It's your call.
I think in 2026, you can't possibly leave this slide about AI out. So go ahead.
So I go ahead. I decided not to say a lot, but it is a fact that AI, for the time being, is considered as a playground. That is where we are, but that's not where we will be for long. I should say AI has been my specialty for going back 40 years, but that was the good old days. Now we are talking the generative AI, and soon that will be taken for granted. And when that is the case, we'd better realize where AI is beneficial and where it is not. And that is really what I'll focus on the next slide. And recall that AI development growth is exponential. I mean, you guys know about this. But my invitation is to discuss in your companies what is actually artificial intelligence, because scientists don't even agree what is human intelligence. So how on earth can we then agree just like that what is artificial intelligence? And there is not one agreed definition. So at least be aware, what are we talking about here before we start discussing? So I decided to just mention a few things where AI is used to create value. Again, that is the way I see it. I've been very much influenced by this Danish book, Gunstig Intelligens. And they actually, you can read that yourself. But my examples that I want to convey to you is that I suggest that we use AI for writing meeting summaries. People have been doing this for a couple of years now. Just remember to thoroughly review whatever is written, because of this hallucination feature of generative AI. I've lately used it for transcribing my videos. is very good at that, by the way. And actually, the last week, I think I have created videos from my slides, and I also created a video from this slide set. And actually, the notebook LM that Morten referred to is extremely good at that. So my recommendation, that is an excellent tool. Then let's use AI, continue doing that to develop complex weather models. And already now, AI contributes to suggesting diagnosis on hospitals for doctors, etc. And it assists surgeons with difficult and complex operations. Those are, of course, just a few examples. And then, if you notice my purple circle up here, there's something that I have not, that I do not recommend here. Again, it's just my personal preference. Many people use AI as their personal assistant or my personal coach or whatever, and that's perfectly all right. I just say that when I compare the human capabilities with the capabilities of AI, and this comes from data on the Turing Institute at the university, is it Oxford or Cambridge University? I forgot. They actually reminded us that, hey, AI capabilities compared to human capabilities is very, very minor for the time being. It will grow, of course, but I would personally never dream of asking an AI coach for advice when I know that the human capabilities is as little as this. And then let me continue with the last 3 bullets of my presentation, because AI can hallucinate and amplify misinformation if left unchecked. Everybody knows this nowadays, but very, very few actually take action on it. Very few have a critical view on this, and I am not happy about that. We know that AI it is used by criminals. And then yesterday, we knew already, but recent science actually confirmed that the use of generative AI leads to capability degradation over time. In Danish, brug af den generative AI medfører evnedegradering over tid. And those are facts. So personally, I use AI where I think it can help me. We'll never do it on a kind of personal level, but everybody does, of course, what you prefer. Of course, that's how things is. I just hope that you will take a critical viewpoint as well. So thank you for your attention. I did write a book. It is translated to English, and it's called DamnGood Leadership. So if you want to read more about what I stand for, this is a good example. But please also include scenarios and copes whenever you want to get on with Agile at the organization level. So I will stop sharing, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Leise. I normally take the right to ask the first question, not because it's my right, but it gives everybody else a chance to think what they want to bring up. So I was wondering, and thanks a lot for the presentation. What sort of just one line, what's the state of Agile?
The state of Agile is fine, but the state of our organizations is not fine. It sucks. So unless we do something about our organizations very, very soon, I think Agile, well, already now Agile is being blamed for not living up to what it was promised, but it is not. Yeah. It's not because of that. It's because of something else.
Yeah. So in that sense, you can say the conditions in the organizations are not favorable for Agile as it is, so they need to change.
Exactly. And it has been so for even since COPE in 1994 actually started research on this. So, yeah, maybe somebody will get a wake-up call, maybe from AI. Who knows?
I think we got the wake-up call. I can feel the eagerness on the line. So let's open it up.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I would
Jeanette.
like to start. When I'm looking at Agile and the journeys that I have been through with Agile, I also see that we need to look at it from a larger perspective in order to see what world we are in now. After Corona, we have Trump, and we also see a lot of companies is shifting to more control, all the back to office policies, certainly. So I think that maybe Agile is not it's not a match for Agile in all organizations right now, because we have a lot of leaders and management who wants more control because there's a pressure from the outside. So what is your perspective on that part?
Yeah, maybe just a comment, because they want more control, but I would like to add that they want more perceived control.
Yeah.
And I think that's all there is to say about that. But I totally agree with you. Agile could never, Agile is not, it doesn't. No, yeah, I think I think you get my point.
Yeah.
Aaron?
Yeah, no, thank you, Leise, for a great presentation. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, great. So I'm wondering what your perspective is on, I think Agile, as someone who came out of Lean Six Sigma, I always viewed Agile was like a little weird to me, not in a bad way. It was like we had a tooling, and then we sort of rebuilt that tooling, or simplified it, rearranged it, added more, we'll say, IT friendly language and components and approaches. And then it really became, in some weird way, it's like the old system of feudal system where like the first son gets all the land and everyone else has to run away or be a slave to the first son, where Agile became just as rigid as the lean system, which almost nobody uses that rigid. No one really used that rigid system anyway. Even Toyota and others had to rearrange it to make sense to really running operations. How much is that rigidity in conflict with how organizations really run, especially when you start getting beyond, let's say, mid-large organizations, where you tend to have lots of entities, lots of business units, lots of general managers. In essence, the political and operational scope of the enterprise becomes so fragmented that trying to install a singular system, whether it being a Lean Six Sigma system before that same firm would have failed at that too, or then the Agile, version of that, has that same challenge. How much of it do you really think is just rigidity versus, we'll call it value-centered principles? Because I wonder that a lot, because I don't tend to get a lot of people who say, "Oh, I'm against these value-centered principles," whether from the old Lean Six Sig days or from the new Agile days. But then when you put this, masters in philosophy constraint on the organization, you need to do jump through all these sort of medieval hoops, and people just sit there and freak out.
Yeah, I don't know if I remember your question, but otherwise you'll just ask me again. But what you're just saying is the reason I started thinking of this bumblebee, because what on earth has happened? Again, remember, I learned about Agile from the Poppendix, and I'm not saying Six Sigma, because that's not the thing for software development. But the Poppendix, and especially Mary Poppendix, I went to all her conferences, the talks in Denmark, and she was very, very popular. It was so natural for us to just go home and do whatever she said. And she wrote books about it as well. And I really loved it, and it worked. And I was happily kind of free of, I was not really influenced by this Scrum monster, which is obviously referring to Cope. He says, okay, that's the real thing. But anyways, I don't really know what happened, but it was not for the best. Whether people misunderstood a lot, maybe that's what Cope is talking about, right? People have misunderstood a lot. But I mean, even I was probably the only person who bought the Crystal book from Coburn. He said, I sold one copy, and I have it, and I have a signature, so maybe that's the one.
Great.
But it was so natural. It was, of course, and there were iterations, and I used it for many years, and we were pragmatic, and I would just look up those books, and they gave me the answers or some answers, and we would really do what fitted into our way of working, our environments, and so forth. And then suddenly I realized that those boxes now and I am guilty as well. Now you have to do this and that, and now you're not agile. And I said it myself. We're not doing Scrum because we do the daily stand-ups wrong. And I was kind of getting into the wrong direction. I'm sorry to say, but I just have to say it because I'm honest. And to be honest, I don't have a good answer for you, really. But it puzzles me a lot. And again, I like to go back to what I think are the root causes, because if we had not had the rigidity of, and again, I have been a manager myself for many years, so I think I can say it. We were rigid, and so without that the power that we had, the agile teams, the Scrum teams, they could have had enormous results and increased productivity if we had not kind of wanted this perceived being in control thing. That is my honest opinion. But other than that, I don't really know what to. Maybe the rest of you have some good answers, because it's a really good question. Did we have any questions in the chat? I don't see Morten, but I guess you are there. Oh, there you are. Have you checked the questions in the chat? Yeah, you're there. There you are.
I think there is some.
Bagel has one.
People are here, so please bring them up if you have something.
Yeah, I hope
Go ahead, Mikkel.
I was hoping to do a very provocative talk. So I hope you will challenge me a lot on all this, because I don't have the answer, of course, but I do have a viewpoint.
Go ahead, Mikkel.
I have two questions. I've written them in sort of a longer form in the chat, but the first one, to me, the Agile Manifesto and the sort of the intent behind Agile has been to help teams deliver what value was actually needed by end users. Sort of a reaction towards this waterfall approach, where you spend a lot of time specifying what to build, and then you spend a lot of time delivering it, and then so much time has passed that even if you deliver exactly what was asked for, it's no longer what is needed. So to me, that has been sort of the key thing that Agile has tried to address. And to me,
and I think that has been very successful, actually.
I agree, but to me, this is more about team effectiveness than team efficiency. So to me, efficiency is about being very highly productive and not wasting too much time doing all this other stuff. But effectiveness is about delivering the actual value, having the effect on the world that it's looking for. And these are different in my view. And I just want to hear, do you see it differently?
No, I perfectly agree.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm boring, but yes, you see it. You say it. You say it so eloquently. I couldn't agree more.
Thanks. Then my other question is sort of trying to be provocative back at you. It sounded like in your last slide before the AI slide that you see yet another reorganization as the answer to all the problems. But most organizations have been through so many reorganizations, and they are reorganizing all the time. And I was like, if reorganization was the answer, it must be the wrong question we're asking, because we have reorganized and reorganized and reorganized, and we do it all the time, and people are sick of it, right?
Exactly.
Managers love reorganizing because, it's something for us to do and spend our time on and so on. But employees are fearful about this because every reorganization leads to people getting fired. And it leads to no effect, right? Every single time we've had reorganizations, there's been no key effect at the end.
But Mikkel, if I may, who are reorganizing? The managers are reorganizing.
Yes.
Instead, let's ask the managers we don't want to fire all the managers. I've said it before. I take those words back. But we need the organization to reorganize and to morph into those. I really like the idea of the self-selecting teams. We ask the organization what would work for you, and I doubt we or they would actually experience it like just another reorganization. I mean, we will have to see, but that's what corporate rebels are experiencing, and they are following all these companies. I mean, all of those hundreds of organizations who it's funny because I don't even use the word reorganize. Maybe I do, but unintentionally. I don't see it like that. I see it like kind of freeing people to do what is best for them and the company, and not what all the management layers perceive as the best, because it has proven over and over again. Every 6 months we reorganize. Nothing happens except for people are confused for 4 months. They are a little more productive for 2 months, and then they reorganize. That is not the way.
But okay, so a follow-up question to that. How do you suggest that we set employees free to do this if the managers are still there in the organization? If we have something like one manager for every 6 or 7 employees, or in a better case, maybe it's only one manager for every 15 employees, there are still a hell of a lot of managers. How do you set the people free when all of the managers are there? How do you get the managers to let go and say, hey, please go reorganize. I don't care how you organize. Don't go do your own
But
thing.
then we don't want to keep those managers, not at all. Then we will have them excused. But it's a completely I could talk for 2 hours just to give you a plausible answer to that. So it's not just like that. They did it in the Morningstar company. There were 50 people, and from one second to another, the managers stepped back, and they were not managers anymore, but they became coordinators and so forth. We cannot just leave everything. That has proven to fail. So I have a model for it. I can share it at another Agility Lab meeting or so. So I do have suggestions for that. But definitely not, hey, now you're on your own. Then you are not exhibiting, showing leadership. Now you're on your own. Okay, then we don't want to follow you because now everybody's a manager. I should stop because I can talk for hours, but thank you for the question.
We 6 minutes left. It's time to get the cat on the table. Aaron.
Yes, my daughter's, my oldest daughter's cat. She lives on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast, and so she comes out with her husband for holidays and brings her 2 cats for 2 weeks. And then
it's a Finnish phrase for the elephant in the room. It's called
"Let's
get the cat on the table."
Yes, no, exactly. And I don't know if you noticed, I do have I got this in. Where is it? I did get this in Denmark when I was there. It's like for the holidays. It's like, I don't know, King Vlapa Vlapa or whatever from the like 12th century or something. But it was a funny thing. Everyone loves it here. So it represents some kind of, pagan, the pagan Christian transformation in Denmark.
Next time, Aaron, just get a statue of the Little Mermaid. We will recognize that immediately.
Yes,
I have no idea what that thing
I have
is.
all my Hans Christian. Don't worry, I have all that stuff. That's kind of the layup stuff. So one last question though, and I do think we don't talk about this enough. We just sort of, it's just background radiation, right? We've always been in a VUCA world to some degree, right? We have degrees of stability in the VUCA world. We have an insanely unstable VUCA world right now, especially with, sort of 3 global crazy leaders running around just tearing everything up like schoolboys at 5 years old without rules. And then it's either creating a permission structure, I think, which is what you were talking about earlier, for people to do similar things at a smaller level, or it's just forcing a whole bunch of people, leaders, to put their heads down and just sort of, grind it out, right? Just sort of survive it for as long as until you get to some stability. I do think a big part of what organizations have been responding to is the VUCA pieces, right? It is something to do with they have outside inputs and outputs that they're being forced to respond to, right? The way markets are changing, the way shareholders, the way cost of capital, interest rates, inflation. I mean, all the, like, I would say all the big things, right? And then now you maybe throw AI and others into it. How much of that, because I kind of came up with a model that I feel is a little more liberating structures vibes to it, without saying that to people, because people don't want to learn another model. But it's basically VUCA with some LS and whatever tools work. That's how I look at it. So it's like looking at it with a VUCA lens, as much LS without it getting all woo-woo, because people get weird with that, whether they should or not, doesn't matter, they do. And then just tools that work, whatever the tools are. Like, if it's something as simple as a Slack and a ClickUp, and that's how you do a Kanban without calling it much of a Kanban, because people don't know what that means, don't care about what it means, fine. Or whatever else, or an AI reader of agenda notes and meetings and things like that. I found that seems to have some decent stickiness when I do it at work, or I try to use these type of approaches at work and some others. It doesn't feel thick, right? It doesn't feel like, we need another methodology pushed through, convince the bosses, budgets, all that stuff. And people seem to like, we'll just say, the straight through value of it, right? Like where, you just have a tight agenda, you're able to get something done, everything's noted for you, and you just have to do work. I found that that's about as good as I've been able to use these type of tools without big methodologies, but it's definitely built off this sort of VUCA lens. And I'm wondering, because I don't hear people talk about this anymore. And I know we had a VUCA thing 10 years ago, but I really don't think it went away. And I think, looking through things in that VUCA lens is important, because if, you're in Denmark and we're talking weird shit about Greenland right now, well, like that's a VUCA thing, right? Like whether we like it or not, we feel it's moral or not, it's irrelevant. It's like if you're an energy company in Denmark, like that's a factor now that that's going to constrain decision making and going to constrain investments and priorities. It's going to make people more short term, force reorgs, whatever. And I don't think we like to include that information. And I think my view is we should not be afraid of that. I mean, we can be afraid of what it really means, but I mean, we can't be afraid that that's happening. We need to incorporate it into the decision making so that when we decide Agile or decide any of these tools, that it has that lens. Instead of saying the company's reorging a lot, it's like, well, why are they reorging a lot? Because they're under different pressures now, because crazy stuff's happening.
Yeah, I'm not sure what your question is to me, but it's time
well,
is
using
up.
VUCA more is really the question. To use VUCA more, and a VUCA mindset, with Agile.
I'm sorry. Do I what?
No. To use VUCA. VUCA,
Yeah. But I don't use that term anymore. I'm kind of okay now. AI is the monster in the room, or the elephant in the room, and so forth. It's not the elephant in the room. That's what we focus on. So I'm not sure I'm the right person to answer from that perspective. I know a lot of people have lots of detailed discussions about VUCA, not VUCA, and I'm not really part of that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's true. Time is up. And I think we should keep it that way. And Aaron, just to comment, I mean, I think I get where you're coming from. I think it's VUCA complexity, artificial intelligence, etc., which is really driving things. But maybe that's a topic for the next conversation. So, Leise, thank you. Anything we can do for you?
Thank you.
Start thinking of Agile at the organization level. That would really make me happy. We don't fix Agile, fix the organization.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And
thank
you
you
everybody
for your questions.
for joining in. Good to see you all
I'm going to
again.
get your book. I'm going to go
Thank
get
you.
your book. So
Yeah, it's on Amazon, by the way, $5 or so, free.
Okay. I will get it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leise.
Cheers.
Sorry for being late. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Martin.